So, how have you been?
Alright.
Yeah. How's life been treating you?
Shit.
Oh, okay.
Could be a lot better, but
Like, what have you been up to?
honestly can't say much.
Yeah.
Uni work, job hunting,
Oh.
cleaning.
How's your job hunting going?
Terrible.
No? Not any, like, interviews or
I mean,
anything?
yeah, I'm either not hearing anything back or it's the same of sorry, but no thanks.
Oh, really? Okay. That's a bit annoying. You should, like, go in there and be like, I demand it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of printing out CVs and actually physically going in. It would work a lot better than emailing.
Oh, yeah, probably. At least then they've got, like, your CV and they've got your number there and they can just...
And they've seen my face. So
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think I'm clearly the part.
Of course. Of course. So, how would your friends, like, describe you or, like, you know, your personality?
I'm not sure. I've never really given it much thought. You know, I'd say probably a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I hope they would probably describe me as nice at the least. You know, I like to think they think I'm caring, but I suppose it's just more of opinions about myself.
Yeah. I mean, I think whatever you think is probably, like,
Yeah.
quite accurate, no?
I hope so.
What do you do as, like, your occupation?
I'm a student at the moment.
What do
I'm currently unemployed.
What do you love most about being a student?
I kind of want to say convenience, but I feel like that doesn't make a lot of sense. I feel like it's just, you know, easier to make friends. It's, you know, a nice slide into, like, the career path, and just feel like it's, like, a bit of a distraction to not be an adult.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, prolonging the inevitable. So I feel like for me it's a bit of a convenient route to go down. But it's enjoyable, I guess.
What do you find most challenging about being a student?
Money being the main issue, obviously, but I feel like it's trying to balance everything at once. Again, job hunting, doing uni work, then there's, like, essays, projects, and trying to balance social life and take care of myself in the process. It's, you know, a bit gross.
And obviously going to, like, see family and,
Yeah.
like, balance just life in general, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's quite an interesting question, I guess. Obviously, after, like, the George Floyd incident, how did that, like, make you feel? Did you feel, like, enraged? Did you feel like, I don't know, like, yeah.
For sure. I think it's more of a case of you see, like, these issues happening, but a lot of people just kind of don't acknowledge it because, again, it was, like, considered the norm. Like, you know, it shouldn't have been, but it was considered normal. And then it was like enough was enough, you know, and it was a fight between people being uneducated and trying to pass it off as, oh, it's, you know, it's no big deal, and then people being like, but it is.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, I mean, social media and politically it was just a huge aspect, particularly in, like, with COVID. You know, and it was just, it was watching people, particularly people I knew, having two completely different opinions, and it's like, but how can you have?
Did that divide you, like, in any way? So, for example, like, if your friends or someone you knew, like, didn't agree with it, would you, like, find it very hard?
Like, with certain family members that it would start arguments because they believed that it was an overreaction. They think it was unnecessary, that they were, again, that they caused the violence, that it was their fault. So obviously it caused a lot of arguments and a bit of, like, bad tension, but I kind of just stood by my point anyway because, again, it's like the situation of if the roles were reversed, there'd be a complete outrage about it, but because they're not, it's, oh, yeah, but, you know, they clearly did the, you know, he clearly did something, you know.
Yeah.
He did this in his past, and it's like, but that doesn't mean he deserved to
killed
because of it, you know? Like, the amount of white people that do god-awful shit, like, you know, they could literally walk around with a knife in the street and they'll just get gently tackled to the side, whereas a black person will do it and they get shot and killed.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a side-by-side comparison about how I would be treated and how they would be treated, and it's the fact that people didn't see an issue with that, and, you know, and then it was, you know, all of the, like, really conservative white people being like, oh, but I'm a minority because all this talk about black people is making me a minority. And it's like, but you're not a minority.
Yeah.
How does that make you a minority? Because the attention's on someone else for once.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of, like, being a kid at a birthday party and someone else blowing out the candles because you felt left out.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't cry because you feel left out because you're essentially the reason this is happening. You know, like, it's prejudice, man.
Do you find, like, it's the older generation that will have that, like, attitude towards it more than the younger generation?
I think so, more than younger generations, but stuff like that is learned behaviour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, again, having conversations with my parents, it's like, oh, but back in the day, you know, it was more accepted and it wasn't really heard of, and it's like, but it was, you just ignored it. You know, and it was more acceptable to be racist 20, 30 years ago because, again, it was a social norm.
Yeah.
You know, whereas our generation now, we're trying to be like, hey, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, I completely get you.
You'll meet people our age who are, like, again, some of the most, like, racist people you'll meet, but you know it's because they've learned it from their parents, who've learned it from their parents. And it's like,
just kind of like gone throughout the genes.
And it sometimes makes me wonder how their opinion is clearly the less, like, not lesser in it matters less, but lesser in the sense that more people are like, hey, that's wrong. So it's like, how do you not realise there's something wrong with the way you're thinking?
Yeah. No, I get you. When did you realise you were white/British?
I've pretty much known my entire life. I've never, you know, thought any differently about myself. It's obviously, I grew up in a white household with white family. I went to a predominantly white school, you know, so obviously there wasn't any sort of confusion about who I was, where I came from. It was all, I was always told who I was and where I came from without any sort of question about it. You know.
Obviously, so you never like had a conflict between like your identity or like anything like that, because obviously you've been told throughout your life like this is you.
Yeah, I feel like obviously if I was randomly told any differently, I'd probably deny it because, again, I've spent my whole life being one thing.
Yeah.
And like now being and then suddenly being told, hey, look, that's not right. You're actually this. It would be a bit like, that doesn't seem.
No, I get what
okay.
You mean. Yeah. How would you educate someone who was white about white privilege?
I feel like it's something that, like, obviously we all need to acknowledge. Like, even if you understand as white that you're, you know, being white that you're privileged, there are some aspects that you don't realise how privileged you are. And it's like, again, it's look at the news, you know, for starters. It's the way you're treated going out versus how, you know, people of colour are treated. And it's like, it's literally everywhere. So it's like, people that can't acknowledge that they've got white privilege genuinely blow my mind because the evidence of it is literally everywhere.
Yeah, so it's like very like...
Yeah, I mean, like, it comes from like representation. Like with Disney, they're only just starting to make, you know, princesses and characters that aren't white. And TV shows, TV adverts. It's like, you know, had to have noticed something.
Yeah. No, very, very true. How do you think your life is different to someone else's who obviously isn't white?
I think, like, in terms of, like, opportunities and, like, the way I was treated, like, I was friends with, obviously, a black girl in high school, and the way I was treated was completely different to the way she was treated.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of stereotyping and just a general divide of, you know, people would make backhanded comments where they'd kind of be like, oh yeah, but you know where people make the stereotypes of you like this particular food because that's where you're from, but it isn't true. So it was always a big sort of backhanded comments that you didn't really, like, some people don't. I know some people don't realize they're making those assumptions, but I know like people wouldn't never make those assumptions about me.
Yeah,
obviously because I was white. You know, so I wasn't. You know, again, stereotyping was completely differently. I never really noticed myself being stereotyped for being white. You know?
How would you like react to obviously your friend then being treated differently from you in school?
Oh, I was extremely unhappy about it, you know, but again, the people in positions of power, like our teachers, didn't see it as an issue that needed to be tackled, even if it was a repeated complaint, you know, and it felt like there wasn't, like, in a sense, it felt like there wasn't much to do, because, you know, these kids will be who they are, and they're going to be rude, and they're going to be racist, and they were going to say stuff, and obviously being kids, being teenagers, you're not going to listen to another teenager having a go at you, you know, and again, if the teachers weren't listening, even when parents got involved, it's like, what was there, what was going to be done about it?
Yeah.
You know.
How do you think your whiteness has given you advantages in life?
I feel like for the same reason of not being stereotyped, you know, I've never really been like a confident enough person to audition for things, or again to physically turn up, but I know being in that position, I would be handled a hell of a lot differently, and I would be more likely to be being given the opportunity. And obviously, thankfully, this day and age, there is a lot more equal opportunity. Not as much as there should be, realistically, but I've still, to a certain degree, got the upper hand, even if I don't realise it, you know?
Yeah. I guess you don't think like any different, do you? Because obviously, for example, like, I say like a black person would think, I can't go for that job because of my skin colour. And obviously you would be like, well, that doesn't affect me, so therefore I'm just going to apply for it like anyway.
I mean, I feel like if it was like one of those things where it's like, I can't apply for that because of my skin colour, I'd be like, but why, you know? Like, why won't they let you apply for it? Like, a job's a job at the end of the day. If you're qualified, they should let you do it. And I don't get why people don't care so much about the way you look, in any sense for that matter, you know. Like, if you've got the qualifications, like, you're not going to be able to do the job any differently because of the way you look. Like,
yeah, definitely. Why do you think white privilege has been spoken about a lot more in recent years than other years?
I think it's because people don't want to acknowledge it. Like I said, a lot of white people want to claim that they're somehow a minority when they're not. It's like, you don't want to acknowledge that you've got things better than someone else. You know, again, it's also like in a similar like money class sense, where it's constantly denying that you have things better because you want to feel like you fit in more, even if doing so is the wrong thing to do. You know, it's like, oh, but, you know, I didn't have it that good, and it's like, but you did, and you still do.
Like
know?
Being, like, obviously, no matter how hard you go through life, it's never due to, obviously, you being
like, from, like, my point of view is, hardships I've gone through haven't been because I've been white, they've been because I've been a woman, or because I've been a part of the queer community, or because of the way I look, like hair colour and piercings. But it's completely different. It's not, I wouldn't really say it's something you could put in the same category. Yeah,
I think maybe like, I don't know, maybe a lot of people think they can.
Yeah.
Did you like agree with that?
I don't really think so. I think because, again, it's on a completely different level, because I'm white before I'm anything else. Like, I'm seen as white before anything else, because it's a predominant factor about the way I look. Like, I'm white, then I'm a woman, then I'm everything else. So it's...
Your skin colour is like the first thing obviously people see, and therefore that's how they associate with you. Obviously, once you get to know you, you then find out all these like other things about yourself. So if someone said to you that white privilege and the LGBT and like everything else comes into the same category, what would your response to them be?
Not really sure. I feel like, again, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the divide in these things. Like I think people seem to unacknowledge, like, particularly within the gay community, that gay people of colour have it a lot worse than gay white people do. You know, and it's just a constant back and forth of, but again, you're white before you're gay. You know, and again, people want to fight so hard to have a problem that isn't actually there. Like, you go through hardships because you're gay. Nobody's trying to take away from that. But it's trying to get people to understand that you're seen as white before you're seen as anything else.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, assuming someone's gay right off the get-go is rude and offensive.
Yeah, no, of course.
You know, but even then, so you could see me walking in the street, have no idea who I am, but obviously the first thing you're going to notice about me is that I'm white. It's not like you're going to be like, oh, you know, what colour is that person? Like, you know, I can't quite see from the distance I'm at, because that's not how that works, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the kind of thing that people, you know, seem to not want to acknowledge.
How long did it take you to notice that was white privilege?
I think obviously as a child it wasn't really something I noticed, because I was obviously always taught to treat people how I wanted to be treated, so I wouldn't treat anybody differently, because I was always taught that, oh, everybody's the same. And then it's getting older and being able to understand the news and being able to understand more scenarios. So I probably would say like early teens is when things started to be a little bit more noticeable, but I feel like that was more a sense of growth and maturity than anything, because again, at, you know, 4 or 5 years old, it's not really something that you understand the concept of, because it's not something that you're taught in school or your parents think to teach you at home.
So if you were to have kids, for example, would you teach them from like a young age and make them more aware of how
for sure. You know, I mean, again, we're living in a lot more productive times, you know, where we don't want future generations to go through the same issues that we might have gone through, or that older generations have gone through. You know, we want to be able to teach our children that, yeah, you know, being white, you are going to be privileged, but doesn't mean you get to treat anybody any differently.
Yeah.
Like, hey, racism's a thing, you know, look, homophobia is a thing, like, look, it's not something that should be, like, ignored.
Yeah.
You know, because, again, it's learned behaviour at the end of the day, and your children pick up on things at a young age without you even realising they're doing it, you know?
I get you. Definitely like a world that needs to do you think now though, since obviously it's more been more aware of, do you think now the future generations will know more about it at a younger age than they would?
I mean, it's something that we could hope for, that they'd know a lot more about it from a younger age and be able to grasp the concept a lot more, because again, it's such a predominant factor to call what you see sort of thing. Like, if something's wrong, you say it's wrong, and it's been a lot more common to teach your children that there are issues going on and it's not something to ignore. Particularly when, you know, from seeing videos of parents black parents having to teach their child why someone was nasty to them over a certain reason was because of their skin colour.
Yeah.
You know, that what words mean and how to protect themselves. I feel like we should be doing the justice and teaching our children the same thing of like, hey, you can't do that. You know, you can't treat people differently because they look different. You know, because again, it starts at a young age.
Yeah.
And again, it's something that's pretty much ignored because all kids will be kids.
Yeah.
It's like,
it gets like brushed off.
Yeah, but the more you ignore it and feed into these behaviours, the more of a problem it's going to be. So it isn't just kids will be kids. You know, again, kids pick up on everything. You know, when your kid starts swearing, it's because they picked it up from you. Yeah. You know, and again, you don't realise how smart children are because they're children. Yeah. You know, and it really isn't a difficult concept to grasp. It's just people don't want to face the topic. They don't think it's something that, you know, is child friendly. But it's like children go through racism the same way adults do. So it's still something that you've got to teach your children.
No, definitely. Well, thank you.
Okay.